A new Harris poll found out that the amount of U.S. adults who believe in God is declining, and there was some really other fascinating info on this as well. Let's look at the findings. 74% believe in God, which is down from 82% in 2009. 39% think God is male. 1% think God is female. I think that's kind of curious. We'll get to that. 72% believe in miracles, which is down from 79%. 68% believe in heaven, down from 75%. 58% believe in the devil and hell, down from 62%. 47% believe in Darwin's theory of evolution, up from 42% in 2005. So just starting with the God thing first, I believe I have two atheists at the table. Is that?
I'm agnostic.
Well, I have an agnostic.
I've said it before, I will say it again. I've said it before. Oh wait, there's more.
But there's something else.
I am an atheist. I am so thoroughly an atheist that when people tell me they believe in God, I don't believe them. I find the idea that people believe in that kind of magical being utterly baffling.
Yeah.
I just don't get it.
All right, so then let's start with the God stuff first. So as an agnostic and as an atheist, do you guys see this basically as a good trend, that people are getting away from this sort of notion of this supernatural being that's watching you and judging you and really cares about what you're doing with your private parts?
Okay, there's no question that a huge chunk of the population in the U.S. still believes in you know, puritanical ideology and Christianity and in dictating our lives based on this magical book. And it's definitely sad, but the numbers indicate a decline, and that's good news. I think that more and more people in younger generations, like millennials, for instance, are much more open-minded to an actual secular society, for one, because we do have a population that doesn't believe in a secular society. But also, you see the emergence of agnostics and atheists in younger generations, and I think that's a good sign. I think that we're going to see this trend continue as older people die off, let's keep it real, right? And younger people become adults, and they push their ideology, which is, this is complete and utter bullshit.
Yeah, is there something a little worrisome about this idea that these people have to die off? Because even Oprah said that a couple weeks ago, remember? She said that the older racists, they just have to die off. But is there something?
It's the truth. You can't change them.
You can't change them, but is there something a little risky?
I think there's a dangerous assumption at the base of that, which is that just given free rein, humanity will always develop toward the better. I don't think that's true.
That's what I'm.
I think you know, I don't think there's a guarantee that we're never going to return to the Dark Ages just because the believers die off now. I think a new generation could be trained into stupidity.
I agree with you on
with
that.
very little difficulty.
I agree with you on that. Sorry to interrupt, but I mean, based on how things are going currently in our current political system, I think that if the younger generation remains, or at least becomes more politically active, things in the country will change for the better. Gay rights is one example of that, right? I mean, marijuana legalization is another example of that. And I think that it's younger generations that are really pushing for that. So as long as that kind of trend continues, I think that the country will get better on some issues.
Well, here's the thing. When I was a kid, and I know I am significantly older than both of you, put together, that when I was a kid, the peace movement was taking off, and the civil rights movement was taking off, and the women's movement was taking off, and we were all saying we just have to wait for these old conservatives to die off and everything's going to be fine. And then there was backlash, and there was Reagan, and there was voodoo economics, and we undermined our healthcare, our mental health system, and women still make, what, 82 cents on the dollar to men, and blacks and Hispanics are still woefully underemployed and underpaid. And there's this pendulum swing that goes on. And yes, I think it is good that right at this very moment, there's a decline in hyper-religiosity among this current generation, but I don't think that's going to continue without constant pressure from the left and from the intellectuals. I
think what I'm banking on is the fact that people don't like to be told what to do. Right? You don't want the government to come into your bedroom and tell you who you can and can't have sex with. You don't want the government telling you which drugs you can and cannot do. So this, you know, religion dictating our personal lives and our personal behavior is something that I'm seeing a little bit of backlash towards. So I guess that's what I'm really banking on.
I think that backlash is healthy, and I think it's good, but I don't think on its own it's going to do the trick. It's very easy to raise anti-intellectual sentiments, and it happens in this country periodically. Forrest Gump was a movie about how we can be very proud of our nation's history if we can just learn to see it through the eyes of a moron. And it won all sorts of awards, and everybody loved it and said, oh, this is genius, and it led us right into what is now the development of the Tea Party.
Right.
And we have to be ever vigilant against that guy. And don't get me wrong, I try to be utterly respectful of whatever superstitious bullshit people want to believe in.
That sounds that way.
But I don't think we can trust that the country won't be run on those ideas unless we really keep an eye out for the impending doom of intellect and humanity.
Yeah, it's on its way out. Well, speaking of that, so this 1% of people that believe that God is a woman, that seems particularly odd to me, because if you're going to go out, if you're going to have the leap of faith saying, I believe in something that can't be proven, it would seem to me that at least women, a higher percentage of women would at least go out there and say, and at the same point, I believe she's a woman. Doesn't that seem, if you're going to already make that jump?
Right, no one's ever met God, right? Like, how do you know what God looks like?
But they would argue that they have, that they've had some, a lot of people would say, you know, that they've had some experience where they did meet God, maybe didn't sit down at a bar with them.
They were probably near death, and like their brain released some DMT into their system, and they thought that they, you know, that they saw some sort of, you know, higher being. I don't know, it's ridiculous. Like, that kind of shit pisses me off.
Yeah.
It pisses me off almost as much as Fox News trying to give Santa a race. It's just so dumb.
Well, that's exactly what I was thinking with that. To argue whether God is a man or a woman is the same thing as saying whether Santa's black or white. It's exactly
people who believe all of this, people who believe in the religious view of the world, are already so thoroughly indoctrinated that whatever imagery they were trained into holds fast for them. My favorite thing about that was that it was 39% think God is male, 1% think God is female, which means that like 60% think God is somewhere in the LGBTQ range.
God is transitioning.
Yeah, but right, God is currently taking the hormones, not yet fully. What?